UN doesn't have a presence here in Washington, here in the United States, that people can touch and feel and see. And when economic times turn hard, it really is difficult to look beyond your own dinner table. But my sense is that ultimately, as an American at the United Nations, and some people actually ask me, what's it feel like to be a traitor working for the UN? Well, the day that I'm doing something that I find morally repugnant by working for the United Nations, I will leave. The same way I felt working for the State Department or any arm of the US government. The day that I was asked to do something that I didn't believe in, I could walk out the door. Same applies to my work at the UN. I have not found that morally repugnant request yet. But many of them ask me, well, what is it that the UN is doing that's actually making any type of difference? They just don't see it. And why does the UN cost so much money? Why is it full of waste, fraud, and abuse? And let me be the first to admit, the United Nations is not perfect, even though I've spent the better part of far too long now telling you about the wonderfulness of it. We work in the most difficult parts of the world. Places where there are no banks, places where there are no roads or water or electricity. And we're asked to send in thousands of troops from around the world in peacekeeping situations, or bring in food and relief supplies through our humanitarian work, addressing things like the famine in Somalia, and deal with people that are suffering in the millions. A lot of money moves around, a lot of things are going to go wrong. It's always going to happen, and there will always be those that try to profit. The UN has made great strides in recent years trying to reform, to improve accountability, transparency. Part of why I'm here trying to explain the UN to Washington, because we want to be responsive to those of you that are giving us your hard-earned tax dollars. So the relationship between the US and the UN is always going to run hot and cold. But from my little vantage point in Washington, I think ultimately there's a fundamental bedrock in that relationship that doesn't waver. And I've seen this across the administrations, no matter what political party is in power. I'll conclude with a little story that kind of embellishes this point. I started on the job a little over 6 years ago. And I'd been in the office for just a few weeks when I get a phone call from New York saying, Mr. Davis, Secretary General Annan will be coming down to meet with President Bush. You will be the official UN note-taker for this event. And I'm like, oh, okay. I hadn't really exercised the note-taking muscles a lot since college days, but I did some working out and, got ready for the big day. That morning of the meeting, the Washington Post ran a headline saying, UN criticizes US for human rights practices in Guantanamo Bay. And in fact, we have a Human Rights Council that